Okay, the earliest signs was he would he would point. You think most parents at first would say, well, my child's pointing too. But children reach beyond the part of pointing and they would acquire some vocabulary. But he continued to point. He seemed to be more happy making the sound of the object, like a car, he'll go, and I'm like, why not say the word car? It must be easier to say the word car. So you got things like that. At 2.25 years, we went to the GP and he referred us to the educational psychologist who, after some tests, she more or less immediately put Sebastian in the program with a speech and language therapist. So he had therapy from the age of, I think, 2.5 years. We didn't get the final diagnosis of the speech and language, the specific language impairment until he was about 4.25 years. So roughly about 2 years it took before we got the final diagnosis. When he did begin to acquire some vocabulary, he probably would not get the words right. For example, one day he said to me, Mommy, there's always a Dalmatian for this, meaning an explanation. You get things like that, part of one word, part of another. And so it's when you're in a home, you could probably understand where he's coming from, but obviously when he's dealing with a wider community, they may not understand the context in which, or spend the time to try and understand what he's trying to say, what he's getting at, really. So you get things like that in the very beginning. As he acquires more and more vocabulary, it gets easier, but then he may not understand the actual context, or he might just learn one word one way. For example, we got things early on like sunny day, and he could never separate the two. So even if he wants to say it's sunny, he'll always say sunny day, that sort of things. Today, tomorrow, time differences, he didn't understand. Late, if I'm saying like when we went to swimming, for example, I'm saying, oh, we are early, we have time. And he would get very anxious because I think in his mind, he thought early meant late. You see, not knowing the difference between the two. So you get anxiety and stuff like that, not understanding. Simple words that most children his age would probably be able to understand. Again, not being able to tell you, basic needs for a child his age. I'm ill, I'm not well, I would like this. Again, not being able to verbalize that was very difficult and just stressing for him. And for when he has to spend time with families and friends as well, because he's not able to communicate to them, what he needed. When other parents enjoy their children talking to them, I distinctly remember at the beginning of his second year, at Christmas time, telling my husband, this year he's going to acquire speech. We will hear him say mommy for the first time, daddy for the first time, because, you get, as a parent, you get these baby books that says by this age they will be doing this and by that age. And it just didn't happen. So it was a bit discouraging in certain ways because you're seeing other children his age acquiring language, they're able to share with their parents how they feel. We would still go on family trips and things like that, but you got no feedback. Not that he wasn't, you could see that he was happy and he was enjoying himself, but actual verbalizing how he felt even when he returned to his grandparents or to his friends, he couldn't share that with them. But I guess we had eventually have our rewards when he was a lot older, and he could, sometimes he'll come down and says, oh, mommy, remember when I went to Disneyland? And I'll say, you remember that? He said, yes, mommy, it's all up here, but I couldn't get it out. So, we were quite pleased that we still gave him opportunities to experience things, because later and now, even now, he has those memories, and he can now verbalize a lot more of what he felt and what he thought of at that point in time. When we finally got the SLI diagnosis, it was, what is SLI? We had not a clue of what this was. So it was trying to find out as much information as possible. Because I think in the early years, if I were to be honest, we didn't understand half the stuff, It was just instinctive, some of it, good instinctive in lots of ways. We were not in denial. I think we were our main thing was to find out not only what was wrong, what was SLI, what should we do, what was best for Sebastian, not looking at really the impact it had on us as a family. Later on, yes, you realize it does take its toll with you as a family. Positively, it has brought us closer together as a unit. We also seek to actively educate friends and families on what SLI is about. Sebastian himself also now tells his friends, and he is comfortable with the fact that he has got SLI, and in his own way he tells his friends what it is all about as well. With most children, they would probably, life isn't easy, and with an impairment like SLI, he's likely to have even more knocks. But I guess the eventual hope is that he would be as independently or function independently as possible in society. So that would be one of the main aspirations for Sebastian.